Hello. In today's video, we will be taking an Excel file and create a data entry form based on that spreadsheet. So let's get right into it. Your first step is going to be in Excel, you're going to make your sheet into a CSV file. Next, we'll go to our Connections tab. And in the Connections tab is where you set up your relational database management system, basically where all of your tables are being stored. So the options that we have is MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, or Postgres. So with all these options, they're very similar. You just need to fill in a connection name and then basically the login credentials that you need to access the database. So with all that in mind, you fill that out. I already have a connection set up. And then next we are going to move to our database. And basically here, this is where all of your tables are that you can access information from. So if we want to upload a CSV, we're going to click the import button. And basically the import button, we can just upload data files directly. So I'm going to click upload data file. And we see here, I have this employees CSV file. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to load, and we can see, we can check all the information uploaded correctly in this table format. Also, keep in mind, we have this little checkbox here. So if you have the first record contains field names, if that's true, just keep that box checked. Otherwise, uncheck it. Let's go on to next. And here we have the data types. So we can also change our column names if you don't like what they are, if you want them to be different, but you can also change the data types. So for example, it recognizes these numbers, but let's say you wanted them as text rather than a number, you can do that, but let's just keep it as a number for now. But just keep in mind, you can change the data type here. So it all looks good, and we're going to click next. This part, we give our database table a name. I'm just going to keep it as employees, and then we can also pick our primary key. So I'm going to choose a primary key from an existing column, and I'm going to use employee number as a primary key. Next, we're going to click finish because we are done. It all looks good. So it's going to upload. It should be pretty quick. And we see down here, this is our table. If we check the data, it all looks good, right? It's all here. Next, we need to query this table. In this case, it might seem a little bit redundant, but as these tables grow in large size, for example, if there was 1 million different records, obviously you'd need to query to a smaller set of data. So to create a query, we're going to click the new query, and we are going to use the query builder. We're going to give our query a name. We're going to call it employees. We're going to choose a connection. I only have one. We're going to press continue. Now we're going to add our main table that we are querying. And there it is. Down here we can see all the different fields that are available. We can pick 1 or 2 fields that we want to access, or we can pick all of them using that button in the top left. And we see it's all selected. I want all the different fields, and then we click add table. And now the table is added, we are querying it, and yeah, now we're done. Just keep in mind, queries can get a lot more complicated depending on your use case. So if you want to look into that, we have videos available on that. Next, once we have our query, we're going to go to the Forms tab, and since we have our query, we can create a form. We are going to create a form by clicking the new form button, and we're first going to give it a name. I'm going to call this employees, and then we are going to choose our query, and we're going to choose our employees query. And down here we see this little box, use AI to lay out form, and basically what this does is very convenient. Without the AI, you would have to set up a form completely from scratch, unorganized. The AI gives you a nice start to organizing your form, but you can tweak it further. So let's see what that looks like. When I press continue, the AI takes a minute to work, but shouldn't take that long before our form is ready. And we see here, this is our form. So let's take a moment to appreciate what the AI has done. So at the top, we have personal information. The AI decides to group together multiple fields under one title. So in this case, the AI decided to put first name, last name, date of birth, social security number, and address all together in personal information. We'll see lower down we have job information, and we'll get to that. But the first power that it has is to group together different fields that it thinks are related, and it seems like it did a pretty good job. Number two, it decides what fields to put on the same line. So we'll see at the top the employee number is on its own, and that's pretty important because that is our primary key. It decided to put the first name and the last name on the same line, and it decided to give them 50-50, right? Then date of birth, social security number, 50-50. And then the address line, it decided to put all on one line. So right here, we can really see the power of the AI in action, right? It put together this personal information section very well. If we look into our form a little bit more, we'll see our job information section is relevant, has all the relevant information. Also, our manager information is relevant as well. Though there might be some things you might want to change about the form that the AI presents to you. Let's say, for example, that I don't like that salary and commission do not take up the entire line. We can change that by going into our settings and hitting design mode. So I can go down here and I can grow the salary out, and we'll see these like little dotted lines, and we have 1/3 right here, we have 1/2 right here, and we can see that it makes our form nice and well divided. So now it takes up one whole line, right? We can edit the size of our different fields. Another thing that we can do is, let's say I want my social security number to be on a line of its own. I can just snap it into place and boom, there it is. And from there, of course, I can edit the size of it if I want to. Let's say we didn't want to know what their social security number was on the field. We can delete that and remove it, and now it's gone, right? So we can remove fields even though we are querying them, but we might not want them, right? If we want to bring them back, we do have our items over here. And if we add a field, we'll see here social security number, boom, that's what we just removed, and we just brought it back. It's at the top here, so we'll bring that down to personal information right there, right? So that is editing your forms. So that's editing the form. You might be wondering what a user can do with this form. Why is this useful? I'm going to exit out of design mode, and we can see here, once we have our form, right, we can enter in information. So we can enter in addresses, things like that. So what your users can do is they can update data for a given record. So we can do that. Another thing we can do is, if we see in the top left here, we'll see 1 of 14 records. Your users can view all of the different records that are available in the query. Another thing that they can do, if we can see up here, is the delete button. Our users can delete any records that they see. Another thing that they can do is they can create a new record. In the top left here, we can add a new record like this. As long as we give it a employee number, we can upload it. So we can press submit, and boom, our record is created. We can delete it like that. Boom, our record is deleted. So those are the things you can view, you can update, you can delete, and you can create. So those are the big features of forms. Some features that I didn't cover, but that are available in other videos, is we have more complicated rules that you can apply to your form. For example, you can have available values. So if you want a drop-down box with values that a user is allowed to enter, we have validation of different fields to make sure they're required or that they meet a specific format. We also have the ability to change input types of different fields, And then we can also dynamically disable fields depending on what the user has input. So this video is just the tip of the iceberg on forms. Beyond forms, VisualDB also offers sheets and reports. First, there's Sheets, which offers the more traditional spreadsheets experience, where you can view a large collection of records simultaneously. And then there's Reports, which you can use to create charts and graphs of the information that you query. So we have videos available about that if you want to check that out a little bit more. But that's the end of this video. This was how to import your Excel sheet into VisualDB and then create a form out of it. So yeah, thank you for listening. Have a nice day.